All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most nerve-wracking decisions pretty much any of us have to make, choosing a college major. It feels like you're locking in your entire future, right? But what if you had a secret weapon, an advisor that's already studied thousands of success stories to help point you in the right direction? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today.
So first, let's just sit with how high stakes this choice really is. The pressure is absolutely immense, and that fear of making the wrong call, it is very, very real for millions of students year after year. I mean, seriously, who hasn't been? You're trying to juggle what you love, what you're good at, and oh yeah, what the job market might look like 4 years from now. If you've ever felt that pit in your stomach just thinking about it, trust me, you are in very good company.
In fact, get this, a study from the U.S. Department of Education found that a full 1/3 of students end up changing their major within just 3 years. That is a huge number of people who start down one path only to realize it's not the right fit.
And all that uncertainty? It comes with a massive price tag. We're talking a staggering $9 billion spent on first-year students in the U.S. who don't even come back for their second year. A huge chunk of that is tied to this exact problem: mismatches in their field of study.
So look, here's the bottom line. This isn't just about feeling a little lost. Choosing the wrong major can tank your grades, burn through tuition money, push back your graduation, and make starting your career way, way harder. Getting this right from the jump really, really matters.
Okay, but what if technology could actually help with this? Researchers are now exploring a really fascinating new idea, using artificial intelligence as a kind of data-driven academic advisor.
Just think about that for a second. An advisor that isn't just going off of general advice or their own gut feeling, but on the cold, hard data of what actually led to success for thousands of students who came before you.
And that brings us to the study we're looking at today. Researchers set out to do exactly that. They wanted to see if they could use machine learning to predict the best major for a student just by looking at their academic track record and what's happening in the job market.
So how in the world do you teach a computer to be a career counselor? It sounds like science fiction, but it's actually pretty cool. Let's break down how this AI advisor actually learns to do its job. The magic behind it is a technique called supervised learning. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like this. You're showing the computer thousands and thousands of digital flashcards. On one side of the card is a student's entire academic profile, their grades, test scores, you name it. And on the other side is the answer, whether they got a great job in that field. You do this over and over until the AI starts to see the patterns all by itself, connecting the dots from past performance to future success. And we're not talking simple flashcards here. The AI was given a ton of data to learn from. These were its textbooks. It looked at pretty much everything: high school grades, how they did in college, their entrance exam scores, any work experience they had, and maybe most importantly, whether they landed a job and what their salary was after graduation.
Now, to make sure they found the best possible approach, the researchers didn't just train one AI. Nope, they basically trained a whole class of different AI models. Each one of these has a unique way of looking for patterns. You can think of it like a competition to see which of these AI students could become the most accurate career advisor.
Okay, so the competition is on, the numbers are crunched, so what happened? Which AI advisor came out on top, and what did it tell us about what really matters when it comes to predicting success? And here are the results. The clear winner, by a long shot, was the random forest model. It was able to predict the right specialization with about 75% accuracy. Now that's not perfect, but it is way, way better than just taking a guess. It shows that there really are predictable patterns here. So what was the secret? Well, the researchers put it plainly, saying that higher marks in higher secondary levels, entry tests, and universities are good criteria for suggesting student field specialization. In other words, consistent academic performance across the board is a massive, massive signal. And if you want to see the hard data, here it is. This table lays out the top 3 predictors that the AI zeroed in on. Now, don't get too hung up on the numbers, but what this basically tells us is how strong the connection is between these factors and career success. And what are the top 3? Your higher secondary school grades, your college entry test scores, and your final degree grades. It confirms that a solid, consistent track record is the #1 predictor. So let's bring it all home. What does all this research actually mean? How does this translate into smarter choices and hopefully brighter futures for real students?
Well, the potential path forward is actually pretty straightforward.
Universities could start integrating these high-performing AI models, like the random forest one, into their advising systems. This tool could then give students personalized, data-backed recommendations. The hope is that this would help lower dropout rates and ultimately boost graduation rates across the board.
And really, that's the whole point. The goal isn't to replace human counselors, but to give them and students a powerful new tool. It's all about empowering you to make a more informed decision that truly lines up your skills with real-world success, which leads to better outcomes for everyone.
So I guess it all comes down to one big question for the future. As this kind of technology gets better and more accurate, would you be willing to trust an AI to help guide you through one of the most important decisions of your life? It's definitely something to think about.